My name's Tony Davidson, and I'm the founder of Innervision Games, which I just recently started based on my game here that I'm working on, Ethereon. So I'm just the only developer on the project, and it's been that way for a year now. So I started 1 year ago this month, and I've just been doing it entirely on my own. The reason I got into this and the reason I started all this was back in the early 90s when I first was introduced to virtual reality, which was actually just a cover of a magazine, and saw somebody with a HMD on, and it just struck me, and I knew right away I got it, that this is virtual worlds. You create worlds and you can explore them, and so I just was really driven to do that. And I didn't know anything about 3D or anything back then, but just from that passion, and that desire, I taught myself 3D, and I developed an early demo of this, and it actually caught the eye of Robin Miller from Cyan, and that led to my job, there at Cyan, working on Ribbon, where I helped develop the look of the CG look of the game. So what happened was, by the time Ribbon was finished, VR had vanished, so I didn't get a chance to pursue it. And I kind of moved on out of the gaming career a bit because of the adventure games sort of fell away, and the interest, I guess, fell away. So I ended up moving into film, and I spent some years at DreamWorks and doing some animated feature work. But when the Oculus came out, after that was kickstarted, I just totally jumped on board, and I've been full-time for a year now working on that. And so I resurrected the project, and I started out just creating the world and whatnot, and I've never programmed before or anything. I was working in Unity, and I decided when I started looking for a programmer, I had a tough time finding someone. I didn't have the money to pay him. So I just started teaching myself, and it's worked out. Fortunately, I've been able to do it all myself so far, the sound and programming and everything. So I feel that just fulfilling a dream, an idea that I've had for so long. So being able to actually get in there and see it come to life, and for the very first time, and to see it actually happening, and to realize that yes, I can do this. So it's very inspiring. The Ethereon, I'm trying to create a unique world, something other than our reality. So something that a place that we could go to that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. And for me, I view virtual reality as being something different than reality, something other than. And so I'm not interested in replicating reality or duplicating it in any way. So I just want to do something, to go to a place that you just couldn't go to otherwise, and just to share that experience with other people. So to just build a world, a virtual world, and be able to explore it. I just hope that it'll be something new and interesting. I think it's kind of uncharted territory, the whole virtual reality medium, and a lot of people have ideas of what works and what doesn't. I've heard people even say that first-person experiences, like this, are actually not ideal for virtual reality. So I guess I'm in the camp that believes that it is. It's perfectly ideal for it, and because I see, adventure games as being the sort of ideal. I've taken a really organic approach to this. So I literally just started with one simple thing, and I just built from that. And just, one thing led to another and another, until I just developed an experience. And, frankly, I don't really know. It's so spontaneous, the way I've created it. And I've just tried to, lend my creative abilities to it, and use my imagination, and just let it flow, So frankly, I don't even know. I'm not sure where it's going, I'm just hoping it's something new and different, and that people will enjoy. So as far as presence goes, my belief on that is probably a little different than the general consensus on that. I know a lot of people are really pushing to, like I say, to replicate reality and go for more of a photoreal type experience, a realistic experience. And I'm not trying to go that direction, frankly, because I'm not convinced really that that's a path worth pursuing. My concern with that is that once you make it so believable and so close to our own reality, that because we're so used to it and comfortable with that experience, that it's real easy to detect anything, that's not right, that isn't realistic. So, for example, once you implement characters in there, and you try to get photorealistic characters, there's all the subtle, nuances and the muscle movements and that happen, So what my concern is that will in itself will break immersion. Once people confront a character like that all of a sudden doesn't live up to our expectations of what we view as what we're comfortable as being reality, that in itself will break immersion. Working at DreamWorks, and I'm sure you've seen the movies, that once a character starts talking, a lot of times the lip syncing's off, and it just kind of throws it off, and that in a sense breaks the believability for me of being in that world and being enveloped in there. So I'm kind of afraid of that. I think that there's a bit of a rabbit hole there, that once you start chasing after realism, that you'll find yourself hitting all these stumbling blocks, because we're just not at that point in the technology to be able to provide that level of experience all the way around. So there's always going to be those sort of bottlenecks or those immersion breakers that we're going to encounter. So I'm trying to sort of stay away from that whole realistic approach and just try to explore what the possibilities are of virtual reality, something other than reality. And I'm finding that, you can achieve a sense of believability without that strong sense of photorealism, that people are looking for. I don't think it's necessary, frankly. And so just create an immersive experience. It's basically enough to trick the mind into believing that this is something tangible. There's a lot of reflections in Ethereon. I get that a lot from people. It's very reflective. And those are just kind of the simple visual cues, when you move around and you see things reflecting. It seems believable, it seems like these things you can reach out and touch. So yeah, I'm just trying to explore that approach as far as trying to get people immersed into the world and keep them immersed, Exactly. From the beginning, I've had that in mind. In fact, that was kind of a target for me, was to ultimately to be able to get the experience onto a next generation Android platform, like whatever that next generation is going to be. So I've designed the experience to be highly optimized for that. So the entire game itself has 275,000 polygons, which is less than a typical game character. And I have a total of about a dozen texture maps. And the way that I've approached it is I'm creating a lot of different textural patterns without having to create custom textures. And I've got a nice little method for that going. So I'm just trying to keep it extremely optimized. And that is the goal for me, to hopefully get it on an Android system. And I see VR, in order for it to be very successful, I think it should be untethered and it should be wireless. And so that's kind of been the goal for me, to make sure that I was able to create something that's optimized enough that, can work on those systems, but also believable enough, that it's not, I'd want it to be believable enough, and so that people are immersed, but at the same time, it needs to function on those systems. So it's trying to find a balance. But yeah, I've definitely kept that in mind from the very beginning, and I've taken a very optimized approach. So I'm hoping I can do that someday. Hopefully very soon. I just talked with Ed Mason from GameFace, and yeah, he said I was welcome to work with the SDK and possibly even have something ready by E3. So it's something that I'm definitely going to look into, probably right away. So I'd like to see if I can, how well it will work and if I can get it in there. So I'll have to get a hold of their SDK and give it a try.